It's Barbara. It is cold and damp out there. It's rainy. I don't know how long it's going to rain all day, but Dennis was making sad faces thinking about walking the dogs. So probably all day. Good morning. It's Barbara. Thank you for joining me for coffee. It's my second cup of coffee. Dennis brought me coffee in bed. It was so nice, but that means I'm really late today. Tui from New Zealand. So, yeah, so it's a rainy day. Excuse me while I zhuzh my Malin sweater. Let me show you my sweater. This is my first Malin sweater. The pink one that I'm doing, the garnet one I'm doing is my second Malin sweater. This is my first one, and I will show you. Here you go. It's a wide-ish neck, crew neck sweater with very long sleeves that fold up, and she has them folded up in the pattern too, with a lace design down the middle. Malin by Isabel Kramer. So the only thing different I did in this sweater when I made it was, you can see this. Uh-oh, puppies are coming down. They're going to I got to go protect Aura. Hold on. Dennis had the dogs upstairs, and I got Aura down without incident. But now she's got to cuddle the dogs, so you'll be hearing that in the background. So it has a very wide neck, which works great for me because I made this in Harrisville Designs yarn. I had maybe my first Rhinebeck, possibly. I had grabbed a bunch of cones of discount yarn at the Harrisville Designs booth in Rhinebeck. And as I was heading into my next Rhinebeck, I thought, oh, maybe Harrisville Designs is going to have a discount bin like they did last year, and I'll get more. And then I thought, yeah, but you haven't knit anything out of that yarn you got last year. You don't even know if you like it. So I decided to knit a sweater, and I knit this. So this design starts right at the edge where you pick up the stitches for the neckline. And this is a very straight design. So if you look at the pictures of a lot of people's, it comes down and it curves and then it goes straight across. And it was a look that I really didn't like. So what I did, Pearls decided something at the front is the problem. So what I did was, when I got to where the design starts, I kept the curve going. I mean, it's not super curved, but it looks good. I did not like that straight across thing going on at all. And that's the only thing I changed as far as I can remember, was where I picked up those stitches to make that a nicer curve. Now you can see how wide this is. This is why Pearl's barking out the front window. We have 3 big ladies in our front yard. Oh, there are 4. There are 4. There you go. Pearl's protecting us. I shouldn't be yelling at her for protecting us.
Apparently we have tasty grass too.
There's a yard on our way to the park that, I mean, usually has like 10 deer in it.
Daisy, come.
Anyway, so that's why she's barking.
Well, now what do they do that often?
Once in a while we've seen them in our yard. Mostly they don't come into our yard like that. They walk down the driveway and across. But apparently they've decided that we have tasty things in the
Oh, they're not very big. I guess not.
They are big.
They are big?
I think
about
so.
how big they are. One of them's a little smaller, might be young.
Yeah, I'd say.
The 2 that
I had put Christmas paper up on these windows because Maisie kept standing there and barking her fool head off in the middle of the night. But now they can see because it tore. And now that's why Pearl was able to bark at these guys. Well, until the deer decide to go somewhere else, I think we're going to have some barking interludes. And that's okay. That's just Pearl doing her job, saving us, and being ferocious. All right. So anyway, so the sweater has a pretty wide neckline, which works really well for me because of the yarn I use. Because this yarn, I could never in a million years wear next to my skin. This is the sweater I wear when I want to be super warm, which is why I haven't worn it yet. Here's Zora coming back to her chair. You're on the internet. Well, I confess, I did take a little shot of you looking at the deer too. So, so having a wide neckline really works because I have to wear something under it or I wouldn't be able to wear it. But today, being damp and cool, I thought it would be okay. If Dennis decides to build us excuse me, my hiccups are here. I get the hiccups every morning. If Dennis decides to build us a fire tonight, then I can just take off the sweater, and because my chair's right next to the fire, and I'll be fine. So Dennis turned on his coffee machine. That's my clue to decide if I want a cappuccino or not. But I just made myself my second cup of coffee, so I'll just say no to a cappuccino. So anyway, I often wondered why some like cardigans had such wide necklines, because for me, having my neck warm is really important part of being warm. And having a cardigan was and then I realized, well, that works really well if you have a not so soft yarn that you're making your cardigan out of. So anyway, this is my Malin sweater, which I really like, and it keeps me super warm, and we'll see if I'm too warm today. Could be. So anyway, Malin by Isabel Kramer. I'm also wearing, and I wore these yesterday, and I told you all about them in take 1, and then I forgot to tell you about them in take 2. I had them on backwards yesterday anyway in my eyes, although they go both ways. So I don't know if I'm trying to help you see them. Aren't these cute? These are by Lorelei Erdo. She is my jeweler. I really like her stuff. I buy a lot of her stuff. In fact, I don't think I've bought any but, jewelry other than things she shows things on Instagram, and then, I'm going to have to stop following her on Instagram when I'm decided I don't want to buy any more jewelry, because I really love her stuff. I think it's called like Bohemian Style. I have told you this before, but she wrote a book, a how-to book, jewelry making, on how to make Bohemian jewelry, and sort of, it's like different, pieces and how you make it and everything. And I had bought that book years ago when I was making jewelry, and I didn't realize it until, and then I met her, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have your book. Aren't they cute, these little boxes? Anyway, so I treated myself to some new earrings. You know me. I like some earrings. So my Malin sweater. So I'll show you my other Malin sweater. I actually knit yesterday. Didn't work on my painting, but I did knit. So I didn't quite finish that ball of yarn, but I wasn't going to make it another way around, and I was coming to the front of the body, so I stopped. So this is how far I got on the body, which is pretty far, really. The body is 2 skeins of yarn. I have 5 altogether. And I decided, once I articulated that I thought putting the sleeves on 2 at a time might be a barrier for me, I realized that maybe I'll just go. And I have this little tiny set of little tiny needles. These are Chagus, and they have 3-inch needle part and 2-inch needle part. And I got the bigger sizes, so they're perfect for sleeves and hats and things like that. So these are size 7, but they're on a tiny little needle or cord. So I am doing my sleeves. So I finished that ball of yarn last night, and then I did this much sleeve, which I think is pretty good. I mean, I was just sitting there knitting. Now, it didn't hurt my arm to knit, but my arm did hurt during the middle of the night, like when I was laying on it and stuff. I kept waking up realizing that my arm kind of hurt. That's the coffee being made. I'll pause a minute. Okay, Dennis has his coffee now. So I finished knitting my ball that I was done with last night, and then I picked up the stitches around the sleeve and started knitting, and I got 6 rows in. We were watching the British baking show. I got 6 rows in, and I realized that I had picked up every single stitch on that sleeve twisted. So I had 1 row of twisted stitches right here, and I was like, oh man, but I knew I was going to be unhappy with that. So I sat there watching the British baking show, and for 66 stitches I dropped down 6 rows, fixed that stitch, picked them back up. For 66 stitches I just sat there, untwisted the stitch, untwisted, you know. Luckily I have a very nice crochet hook right next to my chair, so I could do that. So anyway, I could have been a lot further, but I knew I would be unhappy. That row of stitches would have driven me crazy. So, and you know, I mean, it wouldn't pass the Galloping Horse test, but it would have been noticeable, certainly to me. So I will be much more careful when I pick up the stitches for the next sleeve, I can tell you that. So here we go. I'm just about ready to do my 3rd decrease. And I have to look at the pattern and see how many decreases I'm doing. There's a hole. What's that? Oh. Maze. So there we go. That's how far I got. I feel like I'm perking right along with the sleeves, but as you can tell, it's going to be a long sleeve because it's going to have the cuff. I love the cuff. I guess I'm so used to having cuffs on my sweaters because I have short arms. So all the sweaters I've ever bought my whole life were too long. So having a cuff just feels familiar and cozy to me. So I will definitely be doing that. So here you go. This is my 2nd Malin. And as you can see, the neck is really wide. I mean, that's going to pull in a little bit once I start the collar part. And you can see how flat and straight across that is. That front, because that design starts right there, and it's a flat design, and it curves around, and then goes straight flat and goes back up to a curve. So I will be doing the same thing on this one that I did on my gray one. So I think that the collar of this is going to end up being a little bit more open than the turtleneck of my red sweater, not too much. So we shall see. But I'm really loving it. I'm loving the color. It's a little more dark garnet than it's showing, but I have a sleeve. And you know, doing it like this and doing the sleeves before you finish the body is much more convenient because there's just less garment to throw around as you're knitting. You know, you add another 10 inches to this or whatever it's going to be, and starts to be cumbersome when you're trying to do the sleeves. So there you go. I plan on knitting today. I watched some watercolor videos yesterday. So I think I have to dig around. I can't find my watercolor paper. I think I might have used up the almost last of my watercolor paper when the girls were here. Now I bought them a pad of watercolor paper more appropriate to their age group at Michael's. So I'm gonna probably be putting in an order for some good paper for me to start doing some things, because I'm getting the urge, which feels good. Feels good. Now I don't know if I'm gonna set up down here or I'm gonna set up in my room. You know, my room is situated really well for an artiste because I've got that big window right in front of my desk, so it's possible that I'll paint up there. And a part of me really would like that. And I can bring my laptop up and watch videos and stuff, you know, so I might be doing that. And that would keep the table here clearer if I'm set up upstairs. And I don't really do anything else with that table at the moment. If I ever needed to sew anything, I would use that table, but otherwise right now I'm not really doing anything else, so painting would be a good thing. My next project is Dennis's sleeping socks. He's had these sleeping socks for, I don't know, they're the second pair of socks I knit. And they were too big for me, and they fit him perfectly. So 6 years ago at least, I made these socks. And he has very sensitive skin, so he's never worn them like in his boots or anything, but he wears them to bed every night in the wintertime and keeps his feet warm. And so apparently 6 winters of rubbing the sheets and getting up to pee has worn through the heels of these socks. Now I have a whole bag of socks and a darning mushroom and an inclination to learn how to darn. And it occurs to me that Dennis's sleeping socks are the perfect socks to practice on first, because they're not going to go inside any shoes and they're less likely to irritate his feet. And yeah, although I hesitate to do it, I mean, because he's still wearing them, and I hesitate to do it in the wintertime in case I mess him up and then he doesn't have any sleeping socks, and then I'm going to have to knit socks really quick. I could knit him a new pair of socks. I mean, he deserves a new pair of socks. But he's perfectly happy to have me practice on his sleeping socks. And I thought it would be perfect because I don't have to, it doesn't have to be so perfect that you can wear it in a boot without irritating your heel. So anyway, that's on my list of things to do. Now that I've told you, maybe I'll even think about doing it. But I don't remember where I went or why, but I had some idea I was going to work on darning on a trip, and I don't remember what trip that would be. Did I think I was going to do darning on the train now with the girls? I don't know what it is, but anyway, all the things that need to be darned, and my darning mushroom, and I'm pretty sure it's got my needles and some yarn in a bag in my room, so I'm all set. So I've got some videos to watch and some things to learn about darning, but that's one of my next projects. Just putting it out there into the universe. Meanwhile, since I started and stopped this video by accident when I was trying to just pause, I don't know how long I've been talking, but it's been pretty long, but at least I get to show you the deer and Aura watching the deer. So I will go. Yeah, and I have no idea what I'm going to knit today. I don't know what else, and you'll find out tomorrow. Of course, I didn't tell you what I did yesterday, but I think I did tell you what I did yesterday. I knit. Oh, and I finished my book. That was it. Anyway, please take good care of yourselves. Please, please stay safe and stay sane.